punch in the middle,
Yeah.
but they're still.
Really fast.
So the video on Did you start the video on the Zoom? Yes. Oh, yeah, it's going. It's not true. It's not here yet. I think it must take about 1,000 years.
There it is.
Every time I get a comment, I'm just like, I don't know what's that. Yeah. People, can you hear me? Can you see me? No, I can't hear that. I can see you. I can hear you. Yeah. The favorite, like, all of this stuff that when they keep showing on the favorites and the videos and that will get those first. Oh, it's about Genesis journey. That's your friend. I didn't know how to change it from being a cat. And you know, sorry, I told her. And he told that judge, he said, I'm not a cat.
Oh, one. Yeah, right.
You did it.
We are called to order. Have any minutes today? First item of business is the minutes, and I know Jim has looked them over, so we'll give you a sec.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, all right, they will be presented. That's it, and we move on to the preferential primary. Jennifer?
Okay, so even though election night, you know, we balance numbers, we still keep, you know, we have our list. And there's always going to be like differences of one. If it's ever more than one or two, then obviously we kind of look into it a little bit deeper to figure out what it would be election night. But if it's just a difference of one, then we know that, hey, we've got good numbers, and that gives us the opportunity to go back, because we have to dig through to find some of the other things. So basically, as we went through the election yesterday, I had 3 places where our DS 200 number was over what our ballots were for voters checked in.
By one.
But going through all the paperwork and talking to the supervisors, I was able to reconcile all of those. So for instance, at Central, this was an issue both in our county and in Benton County. I don't know if in other counties, whenever an address or an edit was made to a voter, when you went in to recheck that voter in, the drop down where you selected your political party was blank,
Oh,
like nothing.
Oh, that's.
And then,
yeah.
and then when you're.
Oh, come on now. Yes, and S would never admit that.
Then when you're on that screen, there was no way to go back.
Yeah.
Like you were like stuck.
Oh,
So they would have to basically have the voter sign an addendum card, and then the voter just voted a manual ballot. Basically, you put it in, and then they pulled it up. So that was at Central, and then at,
So that was the one at Central.
that was the one
Can
at
you guys
Central.
take screenshots of that and email ESNS?
We have talked to them about that. I called them election night. And Kim put in a work order during early vote.
Okay.
So yes, we have made that, yes, ESNS is aware of that issue. The other one was at, let's see, at Genesis, they had an abandoned ballot, so that's the ballot I said that we would have to recreate, so that's where a voter is checked in on the tablet, but the ballot never went into the DS-200. And then at Evansville, theirs was, basically, I visited with the supervisor a couple of times yesterday, and they are a brand new crew for all practical purposes with a brand new supervisor. And several voters came in at one time, and they went to check in the voters, and one of the poll workers, when they checked the voter in, I guess they didn't finish the process of checking the voter in. Because in my conversation with the supervisor, she said, well, when the ballot went into the machine, they had to do a manual search for the precinct, which is Vineyard. And that told me that that ballot never was printed from the printer, which means that that voter wasn't checked in. They didn't recognize the mistake because it's a father and son who came in at the same time, both with the same name, same address. And then when they wrote the name down on the sheet, well, they've got his name written down on the sheet, but not both of them written down on the sheet. That's why the list of elector of voters was off.
They should have put the second name on the sheet,
Yes.
but they just put one because they had the same name.
Yes, and so that's why we kept being off, and that's why we have one extra on the DS-200 versus what was checked in.
They just didn't put it on the check.
They didn't put it on the check-in sheet. They made an error at the tablet. And you can see that one is marked with issue, with the ballot issue, the other one is not. And luckily, this is Evansville, where when I said, do you happen to know the name of the voter? Well, yes. And then she just went on and she said, and these voters came in right with them. And as she was reading them, I'm like, yep, that's the name right before it. That's the name. And so, so we're able to reconcile that count. So all of our numbers
So-
then
I'm sorry.
are good. Yes.
I'm just a little confused with what you first said about, when you put the ballot in, it had to look up the precinct or whatever, when you put in where? In
Okay. In the express vote.
In the express vote.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and that was because that ballot didn't have the barcode on it?
Out of the printer. So the printer didn't print the barcode at the top, which means they failed to complete the check-in process on the tablet. And so they just put in the ballot into the express vote.
And it had, something had to, what do you mean had to look up the?
So
What am I thinking? The
When you-
logistics of that.
So when the ballot is printed out of the poll book and the poll book printer, it prints that little barcode at the top. So when you put your ballot in, it goes straight to your ballot.
Right. Yeah, going.
Your
the screen
precinct.
and- okay.
Yeah, it does that. When you put in a blank ballot, a
Yeah.
screen comes up that says search. And it has a list of all the precincts that are eligible to vote for.
Okay.
So they had to scroll through pages, like you just hit page
They
number,
being the voter?
the poll worker.
Oh,
And the poll worker scrolled through to find Vineyard. And then you select Vineyard and then that ballot pulls up.
a poll worker was helping the voter
Mhm.
at that time.
Yes, because normally you expect the ballot to appear.
Okay.
And when the ballot didn't appear, then the poll worker, they always are gonna ask the question.
Is there an opportunity at that point to go back and, to remove the ballot and go back?
Yes.
and
Yes,
print it?
and then there's several steps that they failed to follow through with, and then we'll reach back out to the supervisors and we'll bring that crew in. Like I said, this is
Oh, yeah.
a new
Got it.
crew, new supervisor, but I feel confident in how, as soon as she started explaining to me the steps that they were taking, then I knew.
Yeah.
This was exactly,
Well, the fact that it's father and son too.
Yeah.
It would be an easy error to just go, no, I've already written that name down.
and it's not just the same name, same address too.
So the numbers were all accurate, reconciled, and this sign-in sheet list of voters just didn't match up because it was human error by the poll worker
Yeah.
not to put the name on.
Yep.
And we do this sign-in sheet, I guess, because we're required to do it, but also to match up as a
It's a good
mechanism.
check.
To check, yeah, exactly, to check the numbers, I guess, right?
Oh, 100%.
That's why we do it.
And this sheet lets us go back, because what we did for Evansville, we pulled up and checked off every name off of the check-in. And she gives me a snapshot of what happens, and she noted on here. So we know, okay, we've got to look at this closer, just like at Central. When she did her numbers, she tells me that one tablet issued not going through the tablet. And we knew about that one.
They knew in Central, because they've been doing it for a long.
Well, they called us.
Oh,
So, but yes, and so these pieces of paper are invaluable.
Oh,
For
yeah.
us to be able to reconcile the
Yeah.
numbers to the tapes. And so that's basically what we did with Evansville. So then this will all become part of what we filed to reconcile everything.
I mean, that's a common occurrence. That happens every election, that the number, the night of election night, looks like it's maybe off by one, but then that's just on election night. We reconcile it the next day.
Yes, because we know these little ones, we can figure out what they are.
There's an explanation for every one of them.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
One of them, some of them are provisional ballots, some of them the abandoned ballot.
Yeah.
So if it's ever off by more than that, then that raises a red flag of some type, but these.
Well, that's the provisional ballot process too, right? It's to figure out what these ballots that we haven't yet counted
Yeah.
somewhat are,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the checks and balances, I guess, is what you're gonna call them. The system is thorough and is gonna catch.
yes, it is. And in fact, even at Evansville, basically, I was able to pull a tape. And basically, you can go through and look and count the ballots that are counted on the machine. And so this shows me how many ballots were counted on the machine.
And the date and the time.
Yep. So yeah, so it tells me, and so we went through to verify all of that.
Well, good work. Digging into it all.
Yeah,
Well, it was a puzzle,
Mhm.
but
but you're good on puzzles.
I am, and I was relieved to know
Yeah.
that this was the answer. And it's a reasonable answer. There's no
There's no
doubt in my-
mystery.
No, that this is what happened.
The only thing to do to make it easier for you to figure that out in the future is just do additional training with that team.
And we will, we
Right,
will,
yeah.
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
And new supervisor, her mother had been in the hospital the day, it's like this little like perfect
Sure,
storm, because at first
sure.
I didn't even think I was gonna have a supervisor there. I'd already found 2 other people that I was borrowing from other teams to send there. So I know it was a stressful day for that team, just in general. And, they don't quite know, like, sometimes they might have should have called us earlier in the day, but those are things you'll learn as you're
Right.
become a more experienced
Yeah.
supervisor.
It almost feels like the father and son might have been standing together. And, maybe one thing to do is to ask one person to step back and just deal with one at a time. Because, one ballot didn't get printed.
Yeah.
And didn't get a unique barcode on it.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. Well, I neglected to say this before we started. I made a mental note to, and the mental note went away. You guys did a great job. And
Yeah.
your teams were, I'm not gonna say perfect, but excellent. Everything went, I thought, really smoothly, and bravo. Thank everybody on our behalf.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, yes.
They worked hard and they're dedicated. I mean, Tanya's team is still out there picking up supplies. I mean,
In the rain.
I know. Yeah, they're gonna have to go back next week to pick up the mats.
Oh, yeah.
Get them for them today. But yeah, her team, as dedicated teams going up and picking up, so they put in a 10-hour day yesterday.
You know,
And probably maybe, I hope not a 10-hour day today, but then they're all taking off Friday. too.
Oh, good.
So yeah, the
Okay.
goal is everybody
Super.
to be off Friday.
Super.
So,
Hit it again on a fresh day and a fresh week. Well, it was excellent and, we can't give you enough praise to say how smooth it looked to me like it.
it did, and it was a great run for us with all the sites for the
Oh,
general.
Yeah.
That I felt like how we had it set up. How Tanya's team with the cars
That was
outside,
perfect.
it was phenomenal. And this team inside helping, but yeah, I think we'll just do repeat for the general. So,
yeah, my only, quick comment on that, Evansville precinct. I think it's all fine, it all worked out, but I think we should keep it in mind in terms
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Smaller locations that can't field, a team and we're having to train people and plug people in. And with the more locations we have open, the more possibility there is for potential human issues involved with it, right? So.
That's always gonna be the case.
Yeah, definitely. We should just think about that
Yeah.
with all of it moving forward.
Okay, well, is that all on the?
that's
Should
all
not have
for
been
that I have.
terrific. How about provisional then? Okay. Oh, you got it. Oh, yeah. Wondered what that was doing back there.
Another box.
I thought that was so funny when you said that about what else am I gonna pull out?
Really?
I like my boxes, they help me keep us organized.
That's important, whatever it takes to help you people or to help you feel like you're organized.
Okay.
I love it.
All right, this is the election day provisionals. So, I've broken that list out into the ones that did not show ID that are eligible to be counted if they come back to show ID. And then, of course, the ones that we can, go ahead and count, and the ones that are not registered that have the opportunity to come back to the hearing. So, but this part is just election day. So these right here are two voters who had requested an absentee ballot, and their absentee ballots did not return. So these would be eligible to be counted.
I'll look at them and just sign them. I'll just sign them.
Those have to go in the mail today.
Yeah, we'll get all of this mailed out today, and the other document is just the supporting documents from the clerk's office, confirming that their ballots, their absentee ballots did not.
We don't need to check anything. Check them off on.
You just would put a check, yes. I'll put them back, yeah, in my.
Okay. So as I understand it, these folks need to come back.
No, they
They
requested, no, they
Oh,
are.
these yet two that are yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah, these two are both yeses. Yeah, but they came in person and voted. They requested an absentee ballot.
Yeah, they were,
And then
they,
they came in and voted in person.
they asked me if they texted me, I guess. Actually, they texted me from something else. I don't know why. But,
Could come in.
well, no, they said, when's the last time to get your absentee ballot or to request one? And I think they must just have never gotten it.
That's what I think too, yeah.
So, they're in a residential.
Okay. So these are yeses. These voters were found not to be registered on election day in the sense that they couldn't find him in the poll book.
Oh,
Then that gives the clerk the opportunity to go back and to look to find if they are registered to vote. These were all found registered to vote.
Oh, they were?
Yes,
Good.
these four were.
Why couldn't they look them up?
Yeah, well-
Yeah.
So two of them were accidentally transferred into other counties
Oh, no, by the clerk's office?
by that county clerk's office,
Oh.
not ours. I always want to make sure,
Yeah, sure.
but not our county clerk, yes.
Your names.
I didn't name.
Um,
But two other, yes, but basically two of them, were transferred. The other ones, sometimes if you do a transfer between counties, for some reason, sometimes it just doesn't update in the poll book. And then they're just not found. And so that gives the clerk the opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and this shows provisional work. So
Oh, yeah, for sure.
they voted election day.
Definitely.
and it'll-
Always give them a provision.
Yeah.
Always have one. Yeah, that's great.
So these will go ahead and be counted.
Yes.
I love it when we get easy answers.
Yeah. me too.
Oh, she saved.
Yeah.
I do.
with the
Yeah,
end.
that's great.
Okay, that's true, she does.
I've noticed that about her.
Okay. These are no's. These are all not registered to vote.
Could not find them anywhere.
Cannot. Now I'm gonna start with the hard one first. The other ones are just
Okay.
no's, just they're not registered to vote. They're registered in other counties.
Okay,
This one is registered to vote in Washington County,
okay.
but lives in Benton County.
Um,
And told the poll workers this.
It's a
And
question of thought, not, isn't this a voter registration question, not an election eligibility question?
so he said he lives in Benton County, which is where you should be registered to vote.
Well,
Very own property,
Like I
but-
said, I've looked into it before, and when you register to vote, it's not a question of where you live, that's part of the analysis, it's a question of domicile. So it's a question of domicile has a piece of it is intent, where you intend to return to, where you consider your home, where you consider that you want to register to vote. So that's part of the question, it's not just where you live. So I guess my question,
Wait a minute, let's go back and I may understand what you just said.
Mhm.
So I could say that I'm considered to vote in Pulaski County and drive in there and vote every time.
if you were lived there,
No.
and if you first lived there and you registered to vote, and that's your home gym, and you move up here to Fayetteville to go to school for 4 years, and then you see what I mean? It's like that type of a situation. If you come up here to Fayetteville for a couple of years and, you're gonna work up here, but you're going back to Pulaski County, that's where your family is, that's where you're going. You can stay registered in Pulaski County and then go back down there to vote every time,
But you gotta go down there and vote.
Or get an absentee.
or get an absentee ballot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll just, that's an aside, but we've looked at this before.
We
And
have,
That's the reason that I know it. So
so I can change out their letter and send them a new one if
registered
you
to
just.
vote in Washington County,
Mhm,
lives in Benton County.
mhm.
I mean, what's the law on this specifically, right? Because I guess my question is, and tell me if there's something that I'm missing. This person's registered to vote in Washington County. And we're not a voter registration team, like we don't
Right.
determine the voter registration piece. We're not determining domicile. We're not determining whether they're properly registered. I mean, unless there's a statute that says we are. So they're living up in Benton County, but they're registered in Washington County. That's where they want to vote. They come back down here and they vote. So my question, I guess, is do you know of a statute that's on point or some law we can look at?
I don't. All I know for the poll worker in the sense that when the voter comes in and they state their address,
Yep.
and then the address they give is
Here's the
Benton County.
way that I look at it. Think about this. You're the voter. And you're registered in Washington County for whatever reason it is, right? That's your home. That's where you want to be registered, domicile. You live up in Benton County, you want to vote in this election. And you don't change your registration. for whatever reason, because it's your fault, or because you didn't want to change your registration, you literally can't vote on election day. You literally cannot vote anywhere.
Right.
So like, to me, that's disenfranchising that voters right to vote. They can't vote in Benton County because they're not registered up there. When this is the transfer deadline, they come down to Washington County, they can't vote in Washington County either because they're registered here and they should be able to vote, but we tell them, no, you live in Benton County now. You see what I mean? They literally can't vote anywhere on election day.
Right.
That's my problem with it. So that's my spiel. I would say I count the ballot. That's my vote, because I've looked at it before and for those reasons.
And what does the law say?
So I'm not 100% sure on what exactly the law says, other than if they're, like, for our, in the sense of our poll worker. So when our poll worker checks them in and the address they give
an address, which
is
is verbal
verbal
and
and
shows their.
well, they must have told this poll worker that they lived in Benton County.
I guess my question is, did they give the right address? Because I would think that they did at some points.
Well, I don't know. See, they voted in Tawnytown, which is that area too, where you have voters who are close to the border
Sure.
between Benton County and, but when they
Yeah.
filled out their,
Current address.
they gave it as Bentonville.
Former
this is-
address they put in
Yes.
Springwood.
So, and she's made a little note here, moved to Benton County. So the only thing I can assume is like when they came in, either something must have triggered them to go to the supervisor, you know, when they checked in, because if the address you state matches the poll book,
There's
No,
no.
I
would-
never know.
Yeah.
they would have never gone.
Yeah.
So this voter, when they came in, must have said something to the effect that, oh, that's not my address.
It's a question also of what is the question? It's the question, you know, where you're registered to vote, or is the question where do you
Yeah.
live?
Right.
We just asked to state your address.
Yeah,
For
but
our
they
poll
may have
part
taken
of
it
it.
one of those two
And
ways.
there's nothing in here that says, that gives the date of when they moved. Is there?
No, there's not. It just says he's still registered at this precinct.
If there's a statute, I would like to see it for sure on point, but I know we've looked at it before.
Yeah.
Because
This comes up.
It does.
This is not an uncommon occurrence,
No.
especially in Tawny Town and Springdale.
Do we
Yeah.
know whether or not this individual, went and attempted to vote also in Benton County?
They would not have been able to vote in Benton County except for a provisional.
I have definitely been at the polls before in Springdale, and I have seen multiple people have this situation come up. They went to Benton County and they tried to vote.
Oh,
They
yeah,
got to
that's right.
Washington County.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they got down to Washington County and they said, no, you've got to vote up there.
Yeah.
So it's a hard, so literally the voter can't vote on election day.
It is, it's for those voters who fail to transfer between that deadline.
Yeah.
They're a registered voter in the state of Arkansas,
Yeah,
but like Max says,
Yeah.
they can't
they
vote.
can't vote.
It's not the
Any intent
Same thing as not being
to
registered.
change that from here on.
Right.
I would tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
And we've looked at it before, and I never saw anything specifically on point with this. Because again, we're not determining the voter registration piece. We're just trying to make sure they give us the right name, the right address, and their photo ID matches. it,
Right.
Right?
I think we counted. I mean, I don't want the voter to just. They made every effort to get to the right place, even though they had moved elsewhere.
I would say that I'll give kudos to the poll workers for completing this information
Yeah.
and gathering this type of data. Because
Getting the picture.
that clarified things for me better than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circumstances are such that I say we can.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we'll need to.
Different letter.
Different letter.
Yes,
That was the only hard one, right?
That,
good.
yes, that was. But it happens every year.
Oh,
You're
no,
right,
I know.
Matthew.
You just feel terrible for the voters. I mean,
Probably never gonna stop that.
It,
No.
no,
That's the
until,
way people move back and forth between what.
Exactly.
well, I know, exactly, until there's a change to the law on the transfer piece. Because a lot of states have same day voter registration, same day transfers, and we have the poll books now. So, you know, I guess my question is, why can't we just transfer on election day? Is there a law that says 4 days beforehand you have to? And if so, can't we get it changed so that people who are making all the trouble to transfer between Washington County?
Well, and the thing is, it's probably not as common when you're talking about Madison County and, you know, some of the other small counties where you don't have the traffic back and forth between Benton and Washington. And
You're right.
it is now a conglomeration rather than two distinct
Yes,
counties.
you're exactly right. This affects us more than it
Yeah.
does most parts of the
Yeah,
state.
exactly.
We're special.
well, and
We
it
always
yeah,
have these weird
it should
things.
be a legislative
It
change.
should.
Yeah.
Poll books now have the capability to add voters, to edit voters. We have the eligibility to be able to visit with other counties. Hey, we have this voter from your county. We voted in our system. Just make sure that they didn't vote in your system.
Yeah,
There's more capabilities, you know, that we can do now.
there should be that change.
Immediate
Just transfer
capability.
between counties
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
when they're coming in.
But.
Because we're all on the
They
same
would have had to go
system.
to, Benton County and get transferred on that day.
Yes,
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Unless he is domiciled in Washington County and wants to vote there and intends to,
Mm.
you know.
so these are all the simple votes in that they are not registered
They're
to
not
vote.
registered.
They're registered to vote in other counties.
Okay.
They are, two of them have been removed. One in 2019. The
Nice.
other one, in March of 2015.
Okay.
So these are all not registered to vote, and we will make sure that they fill out voter registration cards as well
Good.
to get them registered to vote.
Sure. Thank you. Thursday at 9, that's their chance to come in.
Yep.
Yep.
And these are all cross-border registries.
There was only a couple that most of them were registered in Benton County. One in Carroll and one in
Oh, yeah.
Crawford. And then the other two have been removed for not being active voters, one since 2019 and one since,
So if
2015.
they left our polling place in Grove, Benton County. Benton County.
Yeah.
I will tell you, for our poll workers, we did talk about that training, that if they did give us an address and said they moved to Benton County, we told our supervisors to vote them a provisional, because I feel like at the supervisor level, that's not a decision for the supervisor to
Right.
make, because not every
That's fine,
circumstance
yeah, that's fine.
might not be exactly the same. So I don't want them making
Sure.
those type of decisions where
I
they knowingly
Yeah.
allowed a voter to vote in
I think
their.
the only thing, and maybe this was addressed, but like if a voter starts to give the wrong address and then they remember, oh, you know, and can change it, are we
No,
then sending them? No, we're checking them in.
yeah, we're
Good,
checking on that.
good.
That's different because especially, like when you are around the university area,
Yeah.
I suspect that
Yes.
happens
It happens all the
quite a
time.
bit because the students.
Yeah.
These are all no's for failure to show ID.
Okay.
But they all have the opportunity.
Yes, they all have the opportunity. So they're not no's in the sense that they're permanent no's. they
We check
must
no
go.
at this point though, or not?
Yes,
Do we wait?
well, you can wait, but you can sign,
Okay.
and then we will wait and, we'll send out, obviously we'll send out this letter
It's
to
not
them.
official.
Right, until they show.
Yeah, they go to,
Becky's
Becky's office
Yeah.
to show their ID.
Yeah, she has the form,
Here.
yeah, she has the form and everything that they show in order for
That's
their,
good. That's good.
and otherwise they would be eligible to vote. And then the last one on election day is, this is a voter who in the Greenland annexation, the address that we had for him was not the correct address. And then his new address that he gave us, we were not 100% sure if it was in the annexation area or not in the annexation
Okay.
area. And he was very adamant that he was in the annexation area, and that was the ballot that he wanted to vote, was the annexation one. So that was the ballot that we gave him, was the annexation one. So Becky pulled the maps after the election and verified that his area is in the annexation
Okay.
area. So his ballot will count. Yeah, but we just didn't,
Sure.
There's another one in there.
no, I was going to,
Like the board company.
yes, Matt, you will sign that, I will add that. Okay, so that takes care of election day. The only other one we'll deal with when we do the provisionals is this one where the voter left and the ballot wouldn't read into the DS 200, but there isn't anything. So if you will sign this, this is the documentation for all of the election day.
The SBDC.
Well, I'll condense it into a form, but this
Oh,
shows
okay.
that you reviewed all of those ballots.
Okay.
All right, these are early vote provisional ballots. These are 3 where they requested absentee ballots, but their absentee ballots did not return, so those are eligible to be counted. Even though we're not in the clerk's office, to be able to like take these up there, our shared folder.
Oh, yeah.
Really
Okay.
well,
Good.
scanning that and getting everything sent back to us, so.
Shared folder.
I have a shared folder with the county clerk's office, so I put all these documents in the shared folder, and then she can pull them, and then she puts them back on there for
Got
me.
it.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so it actually worked really smoothly for us.
That's
Good.
good news.
Did IT set it up?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's great.
it worked really well.
Good.
And that's how we got our absentee
Yeah.
applications and everything, so it was
Okay.
nice, so, yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
so. This one is one where the voter does not have ID.
So another one.
This is one where yeah. These are for voters who are not registered to vote. These were registered in Carroll,
Straight now.
Benton, Jefferson, and one was not registered to vote and did not show an ID. So even if they came and brought their ID back, it still won't count because they're not registered to vote.
That one. What was that, a couple of years ago, where she came and made a good case for, why her vote needed to count, do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I do remember
She
that. What was the
registered,
issue?
she registered at the
That's what it
DMV.
was,
That
yeah,
was what it
that's
was.
And she brought her
That's right.
receipt
That's
in.
right, impressive.
Yes,
Yep.
she had that
Who
receipt.
has that receipt? No. one has.
No.
But she did,
She did. How impressive.
Yeah,
yeah,
Wow.
I probably would be one that would have it, never could find
I would never have it.
it.
Never would have it.
I pretty much guarantee I don't. have it.
Yeah. No way.
so
You never
these,
know.
so these are a little different. I don't have letters
Oh,
for you
these
to
are all
sign
individual?
for each of you. Right, you'll just sign this document.
Okay.
These are all the absentees with no IDs.
Got
So there ended up being 16 of them with no IDs. And so that's what this is. However, I went back through each of these absentees yesterday to verify what, like, were they missing an ID? What did they show? Some of them had nothing in them. Some of them sent us expired IDs. Some of us sent us water bills, those types of things. One lady sent us a note saying she just had no ID, and you look at their birthdays and they're all.
Well, especially if expired, that could not be uncommon, because if you reach a certain age, you're not driving anymore. You're not-
Well, the thing about it is, in the residential facilities, can't they
They
use?
can't sign.
They
Yeah,
can,
you're right.
and one of them
You're
put a
right.
note in here about that she had been told she didn't have to have it, because her ID was okay. Her ID was expired in 2015 or 2019, like she barely,
Yeah.
barely sit. So, but we will mail them letters, but I'll also reach out to all of them to explain
Yeah.
how they can get an ID to vote, or how they can get the residential care facility.
Yeah.
So that for the next election.
Oh, yeah,
they'll
in
be
the fall,
prepared.
in the fall.
So we'll
Bless you.
contact all of them for
Good.
that purposes.
Yeah, I guess I'm not as up to speed on the law and how they do that. So when you craft that letter, did you send me a copy?
Mhm.
Somebody can read and see what those are for.
Yeah, for sure. With these residential care facilities, the administrator can sign.
Does that replace the ID?
He does, yeah, exactly. That's like the only exception of the ID.
It is.
But yeah, so they could have done that.
Well, but the sad part is, if you're not in a residential, facility, but you're still
Yes.
in that part of your
Oh,
life,
good point. Yeah,
That
It's-
is a good point.
it's a good point.
it's not a fair system
It's
for you.
not. Oh, you're totally right, Renee. Cause yeah, I mean, folks are old, don't have a printer at home, you know, people
Right,
don't have printers,
right.
scanners at home, right?
Mhm.
You have to make a whole special trip to get Office Depot or something to get it printed and then send it in,
Right.
right?
Right, and many, like
They
you
can't
say,
go
many of them
places.
don't drive,
Yeah,
or they shouldn't drive.
You get,
Yeah.
based on what I'm hearing, those people who aren't in a care facility where they can
That's
get
right,
somebody to verify that's who they are,
yeah.
and their ID is expired, they can't print something to do it.
No, they can't even print
They're,
everything.
they have to go somewhere and get a new ID.
Yes.
Some sort of new ID, and what would work for that? I mean, does it have to be a driver's license?
No, they can get a state ID for $5.
$5?
They can get a free ID from the county clerk's office.
But it does require a visit
Yes.
to
And it-
either one of those places.
You're exactly right. So it's a visit to one of those places.
Yeah.
And they're trying to vote absentee because they can't go places
Exactly.
easily
Get out.
anyway, right?
Mhm.
You're totally right. Well, that was I mean, this is the problem with voter ID and voter ID with absentee ballots, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
the
Well,
side effect of it.
the voter ID with absentee ballots has become extremely difficult to do overall, especially when
Yeah.
you're talking to
Yeah.
seniors. It's almost like it's an elimination.
Oh, it is for some of these people.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's why I most likely will call.
Yeah, you need.
I'll send a letter, but I will probably call all of them too, just to explain what their options are.
Mhm.
So that they can, hopefully resolve that
Yeah.
before then.
And maybe even, if they've got people who have assisted them and they're on there, maybe even talk to the people who assisted them to make it clearer.
Yeah, not about it. The one was told,
Where do they have to go to get the state ID?
The DMV.
The DMV?
Yeah. So. But it is just $5, because I looked at that, because someone had a question about how much did that cost? Because the driver's license can be like $60
Right.
or
Yeah, sure.
more,
And so,
but the state ID one is $5. Oh, and they don't expire.
oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh, that's that's a
So.
good feature, at least, yeah.
The other two ballots that I have that were absentee that originally were marked provisional. This one was for lack of ID, or not lack of ID, but they said the ID had expired, but when I went back through, they looked at the date issued, the
Oh,
canvassers.
Yep.
Oh.
So it's not technically
No.
expired, so we will be able to count
Good.
this
Good.
ballot,
Good.
for this voter.
Okay.
So is that on that list?
It's on the list, I've got it separated out, yes. And then this one is a designated bearer, and because the information, they put this that someone was going to return the ballot, but they ended up mailing it back. It becomes one of those where it's an automatic designated bearer, but it's countable.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Which is the confusing way that they
Yes.
set it up, very confusing to me.
yes,
Like a two-step process, but the middle step is completely pointless.
yes.
Yeah.
So those both are on there, and those are eligible to be counted. These would be two if we do get IDs back from
Yeah.
them.
Mm.
But I do know that these two are ones that we will add.
Okay.
And
Super.
sure.
Or, I think there's gotta be some way for the legislature to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I would almost say that that somebody in the legislature might really want to go outside the box a little bit and state that someone who has a driver's license, if they're 70 or older or something like that, their new driver's license doesn't have an expiration.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's an
Oh,
interesting
yeah, sure.
view. Yeah.
And or just, expand the expiration date,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, because we can have it 4 years after the
4 years.
expiration, 4 years.
Yeah.
Make it 10 years, I don't know,
Or just put a note in the law that says, something to the effect that.
Ignore expiration.
Anyone who, that their birth date is on their driver's license.
Yeah,
If the driver's license expired, but the law says there's an exception if someone's over 70, that still counts for voting or counts
Yeah.
for an ID or whatever. So I think.
sure.
There's an easy way to fix this problem.
Well, yeah, the expired ID thing, anyway.
I know,
Yeah.
you and I disagree on how that's supposed to be, on how that works.
You're just verifying their identity. I mean, you're
Right,
verifying the
right.
name and the photo. That's it. It doesn't, you don't have to have a license to be able to drive. We're not testing you on it. It's just to verify those things. anyway, I'm with you, there could be a fix.
We just don't need to penalize people who tried to vote
Right.
I know. I agree.
and can't because
Yeah,
some expiration date is
yeah,
reflected. Okay,
cool,
so that's the end of the
That is it.
provisions?
Yep.
all right.
Okay, any other business yet? If not, we're adjourned.
Good job, everybody.
And we will be in this room on Thursday, March 14th for provision.